Hey, what's up guys, it's TechSummer talking to you here, and today I want to compare my beastly MacBook Pro M1 Max 16-inch against my older generation 13-inch MacBook Pro, which is from 2016. I will do a comparison between everything you can think of, like performance, of course, hardware, ports, I/O, everything you want to know about these two computers will be compared in this video. And so, before I compare the best MacBook Pro ever against the worst MacBook Pro ever, in my opinion, roll the intro. So first, let's talk about the hardware and the design. The design of the 16-inch MacBook Pro is kind of insane. It's beautiful, but it's a little bit retro. It kind of reminds me of the unibody MacBook Pros. It's more squared off, is more flat, and doesn't have those edges that make the computer look thinner, but in reality is thicker. It has bigger fit than the older MacBook Pro. Now, the 13-inch MacBook Pro, it's way different. It features the old design from the 2016's MacBook Pro. This computer has that top where it goes from thicker to thinner to the edges, like I told you. It's beautiful too, and it's sharper. It feels sharp on your hands, it's not as comfortable, it cuts in your hands, but at the end of the day, it was a very practical design and very thin and light computer to hold and to roll around, while the 16-inch is big and heavy. It's a big boy, but with a lot of new benefits like performance. But in terms of design, these two computers are totally different. The 16-inch features the new redesign and the new generation MacBook Pros, while the other computer only has the old generation from the 2016s to the older MacBook Pro 16-inch from 2019. So, which one do you prefer? In my opinion, I think that this design might be controversial, but it's my opinion that this design is better functionally and looks way better too. Of course, the screens, the two computers have very different screens. That the 13-inch and this is a 16-inch, but this one has a notch, that one doesn't have a notch. Also, that one has no touch bar, and this one also has no touch bar. That one was from 2016, but it doesn't have a touch bar because it was the base model computer with 256 gigabytes of storage. So again, these two computers are very different in terms of release date, age, performance, hardware. Just in terms of design, these two computers are different approaches, because that one, like, the objective of that one is to be the most powerful computer it can be, and the objective of that one was to try to be light and easy to carry around. So you cannot compare them side by side and saying, oh, this is better than the other one. The designs have two different functionalities, but in my opinion, the 16-inch MacBook Pro is still better in this design category. Then we have the displays. The 13-inch MacBook Pro features an amazing display. It's a PIP-3 Retina display, which still has 13 inches. It's very good actually. I have never had any problem with it, just besides the fact that it ruined the backlight, but that's, again, Apple replaced my unit. But that computer is pretty great, and they have nothing to say against this display. But again, Apple just innovated again with this new M1 Max computer and released an amazing display, which is the promotion-capable Apple XDR display. This display has mini LED technology, so it shows us true blacks, and it works very well when showing HDR content. It also can refresh rate until 120 frames per second and come down to 10 frames per second to save on battery life. So it's pretty amazing, and it's the best display I have ever looked into. So it's kind of insane that Apple fit the Pro Display XDR in a laptop in a cheaper package and gave you way better performance. Just insane for the value of this computer. Also, the two screens are very different in terms of sizes. That's a 16-inch screen, and in my opinion, that's the best size for a computer. That one has a 13-inch screen that, in my opinion, is kind of a little bit small, and I got used to this computer, and when I go back to the 13-inch, it's pretty weird. But again, the two displays are amazing, but that one just elevates a notch when compared to the 13-inch 2016 MacBook Pro. The keyboards are also very different. This one features the old Magic keyboard, the one that preceded the 2016 Butterfly keyboard, while the 13-inch MacBook Pro is the first generation of the Butterfly keyboard. And I gotta tell you, that keyboard sucks. Although I enjoyed a lot typing on it, it gave me a lot of trouble. I have to replace it several times, and of course, a lot of crumbs and it got stuck and didn't work for a while. It was a very weird experience with that keyboard. I liked typing on it, I didn't have any problem typing on it, but now that I have this new generation Magic keyboard, I'm in love. It's way better, it feels like a mechanical keyboard again, and it's way more comfortable. Also, this keyboard is painted black behind the keys, and I like this design approach. While the 13-inch MacBook Pro has the old design approach where they have metal behind the keys, this one is way better because at night, when it's dark, you can see that the keys reflect more light and it looks like more RGB effect, so it's more beautiful in my opinion than the other computer. But again, the keyboards is subjective. You might have liked better the Butterfly keyboard, but one thing that is not subjective is the fact that the Butterfly keyboard was way less reliable than this new Magic keyboard. Battery life is a huge thing in every portable device, and the 16-inch MacBook Pro is amazing battery. It features, according to Apple, 21 hours of battery life. Well, that computer only takes me around 3 to 4 hours merely. So if I'm watching videos, of course, that one can hold 7 to 8 hours about that. This computer doesn't really kill itself if I'm just watching or streaming video. If I'm video editing, that computer, 1 hour, that's the best thing you can do, 1 hour. While the 16-inch MacBook Pro has lasted me 4 to 5 to even 6 hours full power mode without even being turned off, using an app called Amphetamine, which uses your computer all the time, doesn't let it rest, and it lasts me the whole day. So it's quite incredible, the battery life on this computer. It's just insane that even compared to that computer, and you compare the 14-inch, which probably has the same size batteries, with this new thick design, Apple has increased a little bit the batteries, and also the efficiency that comes with Apple Silicon is just insane. Apple Silicon is way more efficient than Intel, and although this computer features a way more powerful CPU and GPU, it is way more efficient than the 13-inch MacBook Pro from 2016. And probably that's the biggest reason why these two computers are very different, and the reason that I'm calling this the best MacBook ever and the other one the worst MacBook ever, because the performance on that computer is very bad. It just sucks. And on top of that, the efficiency sucks too. It gets very hot, the fans turn very loud, and it's not pleasant experience to use. And now we finally get to the performance metrics. My M1 Max 16-inch MacBook Pro has 10 cores of CPU, 32 cores of GPU and 32 GB of RAM, while my 2016 MacBook Pro has an Intel i5 dual core with 2 GHz and 8 GB of RAM with an Intel Graphics 540. Let's do now a Geekbench 5 test, and I will speed up the video so it will finish when one of these two will finish the test and the other one when it ends the test. So let's start this Geekbench 5 test. So my M1 Max MacBook Pro has just finished, and it has scored 1733 single core and 12,830 multi-core. But we have to keep waiting for the 13-inch MacBook Pro. So the 13-inch MacBook Pro has just finished. It took a while, but it has a poor 710 single core score and 1654 multi-score. So it kind of sucks. With these results, you can see that the M1 Max MacBook Pro is around 244% faster in single core and 775% faster in multi-core. It's a huge difference. Of course, these are two different computers in two different price brackets and performance brackets. Also, this is the best MacBook ever and the other one is the worst, so the difference had to be this significant. Before I started to do the Geekbench metal test to test my GPUs, I had to put my 13-inch MacBook Pro to the charge because it had no battery. It's embarrassing, yes, it ran out of battery while my 16-inch MacBook Pro just powered through like a champ. But let's get this GPU test started and see how big of a difference does an Apple Silicon CPU beat up against the Intel Graphics integrated GPU. So the M1 Max MacBook Pro has finished with a score of 68,505. This is huge. This is the best metal score that I've ever seen on this Geekbench test. So let's wait a little bit more to the MacBook 13-inch to finish. So the test has finished on the miserable 13-inch MacBook Pro with a very late launch score of 6,495 on Metal Geekbench 5. With these results, we can see that the GPU on the M1 Max MacBook Pro is 10.5 times faster than the integrated Intel graphics card on this 13-inch MacBook Pro from the 2016, which is just incredible and shows you how good Apple Silicon is while being so efficient. Let's now run Cinebench R23 test. This is a single core test and it will test out during 10 minutes the CPU power of these two computers and how much images can they compute. So let's get this test started. Minutes of the test has ended, and now the M1 Max MacBook Pro has finished it with a 10 times run, while the 13-inch MacBook Pro is still finishing its second run of the image and it has to finish it before it can give a result. So let's wait a little bit more until it finishes processing this image. So the 13-inch MacBook Pro is done and the results are here. So let's take a look at them. The M1 Max 16-inch MacBook Pro did amazing. It scored 12,191 points in multi-score in CPU power. It's the fourth most powerful CPU in terms of multi-core in Cinebench R23 archives. So you can see here that it compared only and lost only to a Threadripper 19 with 16 cores of CPU and 32 cores of GPU, while having also lost to an Intel Xeon W32 with 24 cores of single core and 48 terabytes, and also a 32 core CPU with 3 GHz from AMD Ryzen Threadripper 299, which scored 30,000. This is very expensive CPUs, very expensive and power hungry CPUs, while the M1 Max only runs on 30 watts, which is just insane. Well, the 13-inch MacBook Pro kinda, disappointed because its score was very low. It only scored 1,842 points, which compared to other CPUs, it was very bad. It was on 12th of the list and it was very below the others. So it's a very power hungry, very not powerful CPU. So it sucks, it doesn't serve any purpose right now. For the final performance test, I want to do a disk speed test from Blackmagic, and let's start with the 16-inch. It has very improved SSDs actually, according to Apple. So let's see how it scores compared to the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Oh no, that's bad. That's really bad. Gosh, I wasn't expecting that. With these results, we can see that the new M1 Max MacBook Pro is 5 times faster in write speeds and 10 times faster in read speeds, which is just ridiculous and crazy. So that was the comparison of performance and tests for these two computers. Of course, you cannot do them because these are two very different computers and in very different planets of performance. So, of course, you cannot compare them side by side, but I did it to show you how improved Apple Silicon is against older MacBooks that you might have. So let's continue this comparison. In terms of I/O, these two computers are also very different. The 16-inch MacBook Pro features an HDMI port, 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, 1 SD card slot and 1 headphone jack with high compatibility headphones. So you can use this headphone jack with high-end headphones and you don't need a rack. While the 13-inch MacBook Pro features the worst I/O I ever seen on a computer except the 12-inch MacBook. It only has 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports and an headphone jack. So that's it. You have to buy dongles for everything. Apple killed all the ports on this generation. It was the first computer to feature this new approach from Apple, just USB-C everything. But again, it only has 2 ports. It was the base model, but it only has 2 ports and they're both on the same size. So they don't make any sense because when I want to charge from one side, I am obligated to use the left side. So it cannot charge from the right side. It's very bad. Only 2 USB-C ports, that's not enough. You connect the display, you connect power, you're done. You connect in USB-C, you connect anything else, and you're done. You cannot connect 3 things at one time. So it's very bad. I don't like it. I'm way better now that I have more ports on the 16-inch, and I gotta tell you, it just feels way better to have that security, not to carry around a lot of dongles. But again, I need a dongle for Ethernet, so still, Apple, you could have added it to the power brick. Another difference is on the power brick. My 13-inch MacBook Pro featured a 67-watt power brick, and it didn't charge fast. Now, the 16-inch MacBook Pro comes with a 140-watt power brick, which enables fast charging through MagSafe. Of course, you're using USB-C, you cannot fast charge on the 16-inch, only on the 14-inch, but the MagSafe technology is back, and I love it. It was removed on the 2016 MacBook Pros again, the generation that I have here. This was the first computer to remove MagSafe. Why Apple? Why Apple? Why did you remove MagSafe? It was incredible. And now they're back at it again, and I love MagSafe. I just love MagSafe. And again, that's one of the reasons that I'm calling this computer the worst computer of all time. It doesn't feature MagSafe. It was the first computer to remove it. So this computer was a disaster. Removed the ports, it removed MagSafe. The Intel chips were run very hot. They were not power efficient. They were not even powerful at all. And the I/O was weak. It didn't have a lot of storage, and it was expensive still. So this computer just sucked. And in my opinion, you should not buy it, even if they somehow get discounted and you got offered $200 for it. It's really bad. Go for a 2015 or older. 2015 is better because you have macOS Monterey. This computer is just bad. Like, it's very bad. It has the same CPU as the 2015, but way worse. So, what are your thoughts? Leave them on the comments down below. Now that I switched to this M1 Max computer, I just feel way better. This computer is way better than the 13-inch. I finally have room to breathe and edit my videos on Final Cut. I don't have to use my iPad Pro anymore. But what are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments down below. Which MacBook do you prefer? Of course, you will prefer this best MacBook ever against the worst MacBook ever. But what is the worst MacBook ever for you? Is this 2016 base model MacBook Pro, or is another MacBook Pro? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're there, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Follow my social networks, Twitter and Instagram. This was Texmer talking to you here.